overlaying a brief record with a record imported from connection. These procedures are for items with records that exist in the institution zone, exist in the network zone, are linked in the institution zone and the network zone, contain the correct OCLC number in the 035, that is the OCLC number of the record we'd like to use to catalog the item, and need to be overlaid with a more complete version of the record imported from OCLC connection. In order to follow these procedures, OCLC connection will need to be configured to work with the network zone gateway. As an example, let's catalog the title White Settler Reserve. To begin, we want to search for this title using a repository search in ALMA. Our author's name is Eifert. We can use that to narrow our search a little bit. So now we're looking at this record in our institution zone. We can tell that we're looking at the record in the institution zone because the institution tab is active in the top left of the screen. We can also tell from looking at this screen that this record is connected to a network zone record. We can tell that because the icon of the man with the blue face appears next to the title. Let's take a look at this record. We can see from looking at this record that it's somewhat incomplete. I noticed that the 300 field is not complete in this record. So we're probably going to want to go out to OCLC connection and see if there's a more full version of this record that we could bring in and overlay over this somewhat incomplete record that currently exists in ALMA. Let's open up OCLC connection and search for our title. So we can see we have 5 results here. The 5th result is a DLC record, so let's take a look at that one first. And from looking at this record, it looks very complete. It looks like the record that we would probably want to use. And I can also see that the OCLC number for this record is the same as the OCLC number that currently exists in the 035 in ALMA. We're going to want to export this connection record and bring it in so that it overlays on the record in ALMA that's not 100% complete. We can export this record by using the hotkey F5, or we can go to the action menu and select export. Now we see that we have a message that the record has been processed successfully, and it also gives us this MMS ID number. We can copy this MMS ID number out of this message and go back to ALMA and paste it in. Now we see that our title has come up again. Let's take a look at the record. And now we can see that the record we just brought in has overlaid. Our 300 is complete and everything looks good. So now we'll want to go to the metadata editor and perform any necessary edits on this bib record and also complete our holdings and our item records. We can open this record in the metadata editor by clicking on edit. And now we see that the record we just imported is open and ready for us to use the metadata editor. We can make any kind of local edits to this record that we need to make on this screen, and then we can move on and complete our holdings and our items. We can get to the holdings by clicking on View Inventory or using the hotkey Control-I. We see that we have a holding record and an item record here. We can edit by clicking Edit. We see that the holdings record is open. If we would like to make this screen a little bit bigger, I usually like to make it a little bigger, we can make sure that this side of the screen is active, and we can click on this button here with the arrow. And now the screen that was active has become the larger screen. We want to edit our 852, and I like to do this by using the Form Editor. You can open the Form Editor by going to Edit, Open Form Editor. And we have a lot of drop-down menus here this item will stay here at the main library, but instead of the general location stacks, I want to change the location to main F. When we're done working with the form editor, we can go to Edit, close Form Editor, and we see that the changes that we made are here. And lastly, when we save this holdings record, Alma will automatically bring call number from the bib record over into the holdings record. Now we want to complete our item record. We can get to that by, again, clicking View Inventory, View Items, and we can go to the Actions menu and select Edit. When we're done entering information into the item record, we can click Save. And we can go back. Now we see that the holdings record has come back up on the screen. So we can save and release this holdings record. Notice though that we still have a plus sign in the records menu next to Mark 21 bibliographic. Let's open this up. That's because we have not yet released the bibliographic record that we were working on. Now that we're done with it, we can save and release this record as well. Always want to be sure to release records when we're finished working on them. And that's it, we're done. So let's go back and take a look at the records that we've just worked on. So now we can see that our call number appears here. And the record that we imported has overlaid. And everything looks good. We can go back. And we can look at this record in the network zone by clicking on the Network tab. And we can see that the record now says held by my institution. And it is also the version of the record that's more complete that we just brought in to Alma.